So today, great day. Emily Wyner's on the phone, all the way from Philadelphia. And by way of introduction, I don't know a lot about you other than we had a lively call a couple days ago, and you are or have been one of the pillars in building this thing called CAP, the Center for Applied Positive Psychology, the Flourishing Center. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, I was in a mega support role. Amelia Zhivatovskaya and Louis Aloro co-created the program, but then I was in a driving a lot of the operations and communications as we've expanded the program a whole lot. So yeah.
Which I think means you've met hundreds of people who are applying positive psychology, maybe.
Quite a wide range, and in funky and cool and needed and important ways.
So you've been doing this from Philly and you're tied to some college. And I don't know exactly what you're doing, but you're in some transition. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is? Because we're all in transition, I believe.
Yeah. All the time, all the time. New cells grown every day. So yes, so I formally wrapped up with working with the Flourishing Center actually just yesterday. Been quite a lovely, lovely ride, and I'm happy to still very much be part of the community. But here in Philly, I am finishing up my master's in organization development and leadership at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. So that'll be wrapping up in June. It's one of the many things I've got going on here that are quite exciting. But it's been very cool to be part of that program with a lot of folks coming with such energy for bringing positive psychology into organizational life, and many of them seeking to apply this work in health and social service settings, you know, whether it's directly with clients of care or, you know, helping the helpers live a more flourishing life as they are in a provider role. So it's quite a cool community.
And I'm guessing you're going to be masterful at this. So one way in which we all guide others and serve others is to use our strengths as sort of a North Star, right? And I'm curious, do you recall your top five signature strengths? Quiz question.
Yeah, lightning speed. Okay, so top five. I think I know my top six. Let's see, I got judgment, fairness, leadership, social intelligence, curiosity, and humor. Six. I gave you six.
Love it. Perfect. Well, you exceed expectations. Okay, so you've got your six. How have you got a story about one of those? Maybe a way in which you've leveraged one of those, either for yourself or someone else? Bet you do.
Yeah, wow, what a beautiful question. Quite a range of stories, but I'll use a quite recent example actually in my work as a board member with the South Philly Food Co-op. So I'm very, very connected to my neighborhood. We are in the process of opening up a community-owned grocery store. It's been in the works for years. It's phenomenally exciting. And sometimes a touch stressful. We are in a $1 million capital campaign, which as it turns out is not so easy, while facilitated by all volunteers who have, many of them have full-time jobs and families, kids, and da-da-da-da. So yeah, I would say the judgment and fairness muscles certainly come into play during high tension board meetings or even strategy meetings when there's like a zillion directions that we could go or things we could do or want to do, and capacity is an issue and people are getting emotional. We're all very connected to the vision. So I mean, even very recently at my board meeting on Monday, you know, the judgment and fairness and social intelligence muscles kind of show up by way of me inviting the group to like take a little pause and recollect. Okay, we heard this piece of feedback from person A and B, and we heard this piece of feedback from person C and D. It sounds like the common threads are this or that. So almost just this like playing the peacekeeper, the slow down kind of person to get everyone to like take a breath, recognize that we all care about each other as people and we can like, you know, sort of emotionally down regulate some of the tense energy in a room. And then certainly I'll crack a joke in there because that's a good way to relieve tension too. So that happened even literally just on Monday.
That's a perfect example. Thanks for it. And I'm guessing you're the life of the party or the life of the board meeting. Your expertise is coming out in this little clip. So thanks for sharing it. So let's shift a little to, as you've observed this positive psychology conversation and this integration of research into the practical worlds, where do you think we're headed, Emily? What trends do you see up there?
You know, it's an amazing question. I think there's been quite a lot of progress in the realm of like positive psychology as applied to individuals' lives, right? I'm excited about seeing in the coming years are really more the like larger scale systems-wide interventions, right? How do you bring positive psychology into company or organizational environments, in like educational settings, some in healthcare settings, but I think there's still quite a lot of room for progress there. And the other piece is even just this year at the International Positive Psychology Association World Congress in Montreal, there was quite a lot of talk on epigenetics, and there's just more and more on our real like physiological, biological sciences that is aligning with some of the more like positive psychology thinking of, okay, we think this type of stuff works. Now, how does it actually vary person to person, giving some of your genetic or epigenetic factors? So that's like the super sciencey, still more individual stuff, but I see that getting much more specific and refined, which is really exciting. And then definitely the larger systems-wide interventions, model development, testing, I think is where we're heading. I hope. Let's see.
Well, and you're headed there, I guess, with this osteopathic medicine approach. You're taking a more holistic or systems theory approach. Is that accurate? You see that as
yeah, absolutely,
a more accurate view of the world. It's curious to me how we sometimes go back for that traditional hard science stuff, that allopathic view of how do you really explain behavior? And I'm not sure where we're headed in that. So I really like your explanation of going from individual to more organizational perspectives. Thanks.
Sorry, my perspective on why it is we're heading that way, or
I like the fact that you made the statement. But why do you think we're headed that way? Are we maturing, for instance? Are we applying it at bigger scales? Why do you think we're headed that way?
Why? Wow, it's a wonderful question. Well, I think all right, so now there's like a little bit of social justice Emily voice coming out here too. I think in a broader societal conversational level, I think we're starting to ask questions about what are like the limits to what an individual can do on their own. I think here in the States, my perception is that, there's still quite a lot of narrative around individualism and really making it for yourself and making it in the world. And what we're seeing in a socio-political sense is some massive inequities, some challenges with our political system. And so I think in almost a parallel sense, it's then igniting this question in the psychological sciences world of like, we might be faced with some real limitations about what any one person could possibly do alone. And there's political ways that we can get at solving that, but also how do we think about how we thrive in communities? Because it might just take that. And
it might
what
just
a crazy time.
What a beautiful description. How do we flourish in communities? Yeah. There's an aspirational goal, huh? Woo!
Oh, gosh. I have a 5 bullet pointed answer, no problem.
Well, that's a very elegant summary. So in the spirit of wrapping up, is there anything else you'd like to share with the world? Like, how do they contact Emily Wyner for your consulting expertise or whatever? Anything?
That's incredibly kind of you, Doug. I appreciate it. So we're in the website build out mode, so stay tuned, friends. But in the meantime, feel free to drop me a line personally. It's Emily R. Wyner, WYNER @gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. And generally, the last thing I would love to share is just an encouragement for all of us to play more. To play. I think sometimes that I have gone through iterations of taking some of the research so seriously, and I need to apply the science in this exact way, and it's almost ironic because then I become self-critical in my professional or organizational life when I didn't apply that one intervention the right way. And so my training in improv comedy has certainly helped relax some of that lifetime self-judgment, in addition to positive psychology skills. But it's an encouragement I would have for all, to recognize that we're all improvisers. We're all improvisers, and we can have a spirit of play while also recognizing that words create worlds, right? This the appreciative inquiry principle. And we can make conscious, while non-judgmental, but conscious choices to just keep organically moving into the world that we want to create. And that spirit of play and fun will make it a more joyous ride for all of us.
That was so beautiful.
How'd I do?
Are you familiar with Ryan Niemiec at the VIA Institute? Have you seen this book?
I
just produced? Oh, it's marvelous. He makes the same point. Intervention should not be formulaic. Let's play. Let's experiment with, and what does Emily need today, or what does Doug need tomorrow? And try. Have you considered this? So I love that. Well done.
Totally. Yeah, and it's different strokes for different folks. And to your point, like needs change, people change. Like I think in positive psychology, we often have the narrative around since your circumstance doesn't control or shouldn't control your well-being. I think sometimes that has had people shift then into the mentality of then, oh, okay, so then I should just be able to do this set of practices and then they'll always work because my circumstance doesn't matter. And I think that's like a little bit too narrow-minded, because it's like, well, sure, the point can be taken that we maintain some semblance of control over how we interact with our circumstances, but our circumstances changing might mean that we need different things at different times, and that's okay.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
On that good note, I'm going to pause the recording so we can keep talking. Well done, and thank you, Emily.